Alright, here's the full, combined voiceover script for your video, written in a smooth, conversational flow and ready for narration. It contains the honorable mentions and the 5 must-keep players, includes all audience interactions and CTAs. We're pushing for 16,000 subscribers, and transitions naturally from one topic to the next. Read it aloud as is or paste into your production doc. Alright, here's where things get real. The Cowboys are about to cut down to a 53-man roster, and every single decision matters, not just for the starters but for the players who give you depth, energy, and late-season magic. I'm DC Forel and this channel is Cowboys News TV. We talk facts, we call it like it is, and today I'm walking you through the names I think the Cowboys simply can't afford to lose. I'm starting this off with 2 honorable mentions because they deserve the nod: Princeton Fent and Ronaldo Fairweather. Both have flashed enough in camp and in the preseason to make you think twice about letting them slip through waivers. Princeton's a tight end who's shown the kind of hands and situational awareness that makes him a theft on special teams and a decent blocking piece in short yardage looks. He's exactly the sort of player you want on your practice squad, somebody you can promote when injuries hit and who already understands the offense enough to contribute right away. Ronaldo Fairweather, meanwhile, has done his talking on the stat sheet: catches, a short touchdown, and consistent route discipline. He's the more polished receiving tight end of the 2 at the moment, the one who can come in on early downs and create matchup problems in the middle of the field. The reason I'm starting with these 2 is simple: they're high-value, low-cost assets. Keeping them either on the 53 or stashing one on the practice squad preserves depth at a position that's often tested during the season. If you're thinking about roster construction, this is the kind of chess move Jerry and the staff should be making. Before I move on to the 5 names I think the Cowboys must sign, tell me this: which tight end would you rather see kept for depth, Princeton or Ronaldo? Drop the name and a quick reason in the comments right now. And real quick, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more roster analysis all season long, help a channel out, hit that like button and subscribe. We're pushing towards 16,000 subscribers, and every single new sub helps us keep this level of content coming. Alright, that's the setup. The honorable mentions are locked in my head, and now I'll break down the 5 players I'm telling Dallas they can't cut. Purion Winfrey is the first real name on this list, and I've got to tell you, this guy has made it impossible to ignore him. Defensive tackles are the kind of players casual fans don't always notice in the preseason, but if you've been watching the line closely, you've seen number 95 making his presence felt. Winfrey has been disruptive, he's been versatile, and most importantly, he's been productive every time he's gotten a shot. In the final preseason game, he stacked the stat sheet for tackles to solo stops and a sack that came at the exact right moment. That kind of timing matters because it shows you a player who can rise up when the defense needs a play made. He also knifed into the backfield to blow up a 3rd down run and stood tall in a goal line stand. These are the little details coaches see that make them rethink roster cuts. Now, here's why Winfrey is so valuable. The Cowboys have a strong defensive front on paper, but you and I both know it only takes 1 or 2 injuries for things to thin out fast. Winfrey can slide right in at 3 technique, which is his natural home, but he's also got enough strength and leverage to bump over to the 1 tech if the staff needs him to. That kind of flexibility means you're not burning a roster spot on a one-dimensional player, and let's be real, his motor and burst fit exactly what Dan Quinn and now this defensive staff have been preaching. He's not just a body to eat space, he's a guy who can disrupt the timing of an offense and force mistakes that lead to turnovers. I know some fans might brush him off as just another camp riser, but don't forget, he's already been a proven playmaker in the UFL. He didn't just show up. He dominated, earning all UFL honors with 29 tackles, 9 for loss, a forced fumble, and even pass. Breakups, that's the kind of resume you want backing up what we're seeing in Oxnard and these preseason games. To me, that seals it. He's not a luxury, he's a necessity. And if you're serious about sustaining a championship-level defense all season long, you don't risk cutting Purion Winfrey and hoping he sneaks onto the practice squad. Somebody else will scoop him up. Let me throw this question to you directly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you think Dallas needs Winfrey on the 53-man roster? Drop your number in the comments. I want to see if you're as high on him as I am. And while you're doing that, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're building this Cowboys News TV community bigger every week, and with your help, we're going to smash through that 16,000 subscriber milestone. Stick with me, because next up is a name from the secondary, and I think you'll agree, this kid might just be the steal of camp. Childress is the kind of player that sneaks up on you during preseason. You don't see his name in the headlines, you don't hear the hype machine going wild, but when you watch the tape, when you look at the numbers, you start realizing this kid has something. Zion came in as an undrafted free agent, and usually those guys are just hoping to hang around long enough to make the practice squad. But instead of just surviving camp, he's been making his case with consistent, aggressive play every single time he's gotten on the field against the Rams, against the Falcons. Whenever his number has been called, Zion has answered. Statistically, he stacked up solid outings, 6 tackles in one game, 5 of those solo. That tells you he's not just cleaning up after somebody else. He's getting in position, breaking down, and finishing plays. And here's the thing I like the most, he plays with urgency. You can see it in the way he closes in coverage, the way he reacts to the ball in the air, and the way he refuses to give up on a rep. For an undrafted rookie, that's the difference between sticking around and washing out. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The Cowboys are in transition in the secondary. Losing Jordan Lewis hurt. He was a dog, a tone setter, somebody who wasn't afraid to get physical. That kind of presence is hard to replace, and Dallas can't just rely on Trevon Diggs and Darren Bland to carry the entire load. Zion gives you something different, a developmental piece who can come in hungry, contribute on special teams right away, and grow into a rotation role. He may not have Lewis experience yet, but the edge, the willingness to attack, it's there. And if you give him the right coaching, that can be molded into exactly the kind of depth you need over a long season. This is the part of roster construction that casual fans underestimate. It's not always about your Pro Bowl starters. It's about the guys who can step up when you least expect it. Injuries are guaranteed in this league, and if Dallas wants to stay competitive deep into the season, having a player like Childress waiting in the wings is just smart business. So here's what I want to know from you. Would you rather see Zion kept as a developmental corner who gets spot snaps, or as a special teams ace who carves out his role that way? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're there, tell me whether you'd keep Zion or prioritize bringing in a veteran for depth instead. I'm curious to see where Cowboys Nation stands on this one. And don't forget, hit that like button if you want more deep dives like this, and subscribe so you don't miss a single roster breakdown. Taon Holden might just be the definition of a player with something to prove. And drafted out of Oregon, a lot of analysts thought he had done enough to at least hear his name called late on draft weekend. Instead, the calls never came. Dallas picked him up with a contract that looked small on paper, just a $3,000 guarantee. That number alone became part of the storyline because it told you exactly how little security he walked into camp with. For most players, that kind of situation can break you, but for Holden, it lit a fire. He showed up with a chip on his shoulder and has been doing nothing but balling out ever since. From the first snaps of training camp to the preseason games, Holden has flashed as a reliable target. He's not just making routine catches, he's making contested ones, running sharp routes, and finding ways to separate even against tight coverage. Against the Rams, he stood out with a couple of clutch grabs, and he followed it up with more production against the Falcons. He's not disappearing week to week, and that consistency is what moves a player up the depth chart. And speaking of the depth chart, this is where it gets interesting. We already know who the top wideouts are. CeeDee Lamb is the alpha, Brandon Cooks brings the veteran speed, and Jalen Tolbert is finally starting to show what he can be, but once you get beyond that, the fight for roster spots is wide open. Jalen Brooks, Dennis Houston, Tyron Billy Johnson, these are names we've heard before, but the truth is we know exactly what they are. Holden has started to leapfrog some of those guys with his production and his urgency. Right now, I'd argue he's sitting just behind Ryan Flournoy, who's also had a strong camp. That's saying something because it means Holden has forced the coaches to reevaluate their WR pecking order. When you're building a team, you want young receivers who don't just fill a jersey but actually push the veterans ahead of them. Holden is doing that. He's young, cheap, hungry, and already proving he can handle the moment. That's the kind of player you stash now, develop, and watch grow into a contributor. Cutting him would be a mistake, because if Dallas tries to slide him onto the practice squad, there's a good chance another team swoops in and grabs him. So, let me ask you this. If you had to guess, what percentage of offensive snaps do you see Holden earning this year if he makes the roster? Drop your number in the comments. -10%, 20%, maybe more? And while you're here, help us keep building Cowboys News TV. Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of these deep dives. We're closing in on 16,000 subscribers, and your support keeps this community growing. James Houston is the crown jewel of this conversation out of all the players. Fighting for a spot on the 53-man roster, he's the one I believe the Cowboys absolutely cannot afford to let go. If you watched him back when he first broke into the league, you already know why. Coming out of an HBCU program, Houston had to fight twice as hard for recognition, and when he got his chance with Detroit, he didn't just show up, he exploded. In just 7 games of his rookie season, he racked up 8 sacks. That's not just production, that's elite pass rushing efficiency, the kind of impact you usually only see from top picks. Then came the setback. He hurt a bone in his foot, missed significant time, and the hype cooled off. But here's the reality, the ability never went anywhere. Now that he's healthy again, we're starting to see the same flashes in camp and the preseason that made him such a dangerous weapon. Houston's got lean, he's got burst, and he's got more than one move in his bag. He can win with speed, he can counter inside, and he's got the strength to hold the edge against the run. For Dallas, that combination is exactly what you need in today's NFL, where you can never have too many pass rushers. Now think about this in the bigger context. The Cowboys already have one of the best edge rushers in football with Micah Parsons, but we don't know how that contract situation is going to play out. Jerry might test the waters with a franchise tag, which means there's a world where the Cowboys need every ounce of depth and insurance they can get at that position. Even if Parsons is locked in, adding Houston to a rotation that already includes DeMarcus Lawrence and Sam Williams turns a strength into a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. That's why I'm saying it flat out. Cutting James Houston would be a mistake Dallas can't make. And let's be real, this defense is built on pressure. Quinn's philosophy has always been to dictate games by collapsing the pocket, forcing turnovers, and wearing down offensive lines. Houston fits that identity perfectly. He's not a maybe down the line project. He's someone who can contribute right now and at a bargain price. If you're Jerry Jones, if you're Will McClay, if you're thinking about building a roster that can go toe-to-toe with San Francisco or Philly in the playoffs, this is a move you have to make. So here's the closing question for you. Do you believe James Houston forces Dallas to keep 3 true pass rushers coming off the bench? Type YES if you think he's earned it, or nitrogen monoxide if you'd rather see that roster spot go elsewhere. I'll be reading through the comments because this is one of those decisions that could shape the Cowboys season. Alright, those are my 2 honorable mentions and the 5 players the Cowboys must keep. Princeton Fent and Ronaldo for weather as the tight and depth pieces, Purion Winfrey inside, Zion Childress in the secondary, Taon Holden at receiver, and James Houston on the edge. Every one of these names brings something different, whether it's special teams value, positional flexibility, rookie upside, or immediate pass rush juice, and those are the kinds of pieces that decide games in December and January. Now it's your turn. Do you agree with the list? Who did I miss? Who do you think is a cut candidate instead? Drop your takes in the comments, make your case, and let's debate it out. If you like this breakdown, hit the like button and subscribe to Cowboys News TV. We're pushing to 16,000 subscribers and your support keeps these deep dives coming. Thanks for watching. I'll be reading every comment, and as always, DC4, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.